All right. So I'd like to start off very briefly with a poll just to get a sense of the range of experience that we have here in the room with us today. So you should be seeing a poll on your screen now with 2 questions, just giving me a sense of your status and your past experience with publishing. And if that's none at all, that is totally okay. You're in the right place. All right, so I'm watching the results coming in. Lots of master's students, some doctoral students. Okay. Got just about all the votes in. Let's see. Give it just a couple more seconds to go ahead and get a response in if you haven't yet. All right, go ahead and end the poll here. So it looks like we have lots of master's students with us, some doctoral students, and even an undergraduate student and a staff member. That's awesome. So thank you. I'm really excited that we have such a broad range of interest in this. And it looks like the vast majority of you are brand new to this, or else maybe just know a little bit from talking to your advisors. So that's awesome. I'm really hoping you will feel like your experience is stronger by the end of this session, like you're ready to move forward. Oh, I just realized you were maybe not seeing those results. There we go. All right. So getting started then. I want to talk a little bit about goals. In scholarly publishing in general, our goals are to communicate our research findings to the appropriate audience and to have an impact on theory, research, practice, or policy. The nature of that impact, where it is and what it looks like, is going to be very different for different researchers, depending on the field you're in and the work that you want to accomplish. Now, our goals for today's session will be explaining what may characterize the right and wrong journals for a paper, identify tools that can help us to discover, compare, and select journals, and we'll get a little bit of practice using these tools to explore some potential journals. So thinking about right and wrong, I want to start out by actually talking about the wrong side of that equation. What happens if we submit our paper to the wrong journal? One thing we may find is that the paper just gets rejected because it's not a good fit for that journal. That also means that we can lose time and momentum while we wait for that rejection to come through when we could have submitted somewhere else that was maybe a better fit and be moving along in the process during that time. We may find that our paper gets published, but that it doesn't reach our desired audience if that particular journal was not the best venue. So we may not achieve the impact we want if we're not reaching the right people. And kind of on the worst case scenario end, if it turns out that the journal we submitted to was a predatory journal, some venue that is taking advantage of authors, then we may end up with a really problematic citation on our resume that could cause some problems in the future for our professional reputation. So I like to just kind of think of those from the smallest aspects of just I lose some time and I get a rejection to the worst possible case to think about what the possible risks are. So then the next question, if we want to avoid those wrong journals, what's going to make the right journal? And I'm going to give you another poll here, getting a sense of what kind of things you think you might look for based on your knowledge now. What sort of a factor would make you the most likely to choose one journal over another if you were submitting an article? Okay, I'm seeing some answers start to come in. Okay, a lot of people noting that their professor, advisor, mentor recommended them to publish there, that it's top ranked in their field, has a high acceptance rate. Okay. So you can see we have a good diversity of opinions here about what kind of a factor might seem most important to you going in, and that's okay. Each one of us is going to be a different type of researcher with different goals in a different context, and each one of us may choose to focus on different characteristics. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's not particularly a right or wrong answer to this question, but it's just interesting to get a sense of where we think our priorities are getting started. Now, just in case some of the terms in those answer options were unfamiliar to you, I'm going to give a couple of definitions here. So one of the options was if a journal is published open access. So I want to touch on that briefly. Open access scholarship is available online for everyone to read without access to a paid subscription. Some open access publishing requires the author or their grant funding or their institution to pay fees for that publication. And some OA publishing is free to the authors. The benefits of open access are often that it's available to everyone immediately. So even researchers who are not affiliated with a research institution that can afford to purchase those journals, or maybe researchers at institutions in developing nations where they don't have the same kinds of budgets for subscriptions. So it's more widely available to the people who would need the information you're sharing. Another term in that poll that might have been unfamiliar was saying that a journal has a high impact factor. So if you've not heard that term, or you've heard it but you're not quite sure what it means, the journal impact factor is a proprietary metric of Clarivate. So this is actually like a trademarked capital letter term that one company owns. It's a ratio that indicates how frequently one journal in the Web of Science database gets cited by other journals in the Web of Science database. Not every journal is going to have an impact factor because it covers a selective base of content, but that kind of gives you a sense of what it is. A high impact factor indicates highly cited. So identifying the right journal. I've identified some things that we want to think about in that process. The first step really is to think about yourself rather than the journal. What audience is it that you want to reach with your work? If you're doing education research, the question of whether you want to be reaching other scholarly researchers in education or researching practitioner teachers in the classroom, it's going to be two very different audiences. So your publications would be suitable in very different types of publications. What are your goals? Are you trying to rack up the scholarly prestige points by being able to show that you're in the highest ranked journals? Or are you trying to make a difference in practice or policy, or both? It can be both. It doesn't have to be only one or the other. And then finally, what do you value? For instance, as we were discussing open access scholarship, is that open access and making that work available to researchers who don't have access to subscriptions, is that something that is important to you in terms of your values? So we need to ask ourselves these questions about ourselves and our work, and then compare that when we start looking at the journals. How do those journals' traits align with you? Some of the factors we would look at are listed here. The first one simply being a lack of predatory features, which sounds a little more straightforward than it is sometimes. I am making these slides available to you after the session. I'll send them out. And part of what's included in here are links to some checklists for evaluating potentially predatory journals. So that would be really the first step, is just making sure that what you're looking at is a legitimate, credible journal. Beyond that, looking at the mission and the scope. What does that journal exist to accomplish? What does it care about? What's its content focus? Is it more theoretical, more practical? How does that fit with your work? Who is its target audience? And within that audience, what kind of distribution does it have? Does it reach the vast majority of that audience or only a small audience? What sort of a style and tone does it have? Does it tend to be very formal scholarly writing, or is it more conversational, accessible writing? Who's the publisher? Is it a university, a scholarly association, a commercial publisher? Not necessarily that one is better or worse than another, but making sure that we understand the environment that we would be working in. What sort of a peer review model do they use? So we see some journals that use double-blind peer review. That's kind of what we consider to be the gold standard. That means that the reviewer does not know the author's identity, and the author does not know the reviewer's identity. We're both anonymous from each other, and that helps to prevent bias in the review process. But some journals use a single blind process. The author doesn't know who's reviewing them, but the reviewer will know who the author is. And that may open potential for either positive or negative bias because it's a friend or it's a competitor, what have you. In addition to the model of peer review, we may want to look at the average length of time it takes them to peer review. Do they tend to turn things around in 2 to 3 months? Does it tend to take them closer to a year? Again, not that there's a right or wrong answer, but you'll want to weigh that against your goals. How long are you comfortable waiting to get a reply from that journal, especially if it may be a rejection and you may have to turn around and start over. We can also look at different types of rankings, the journal's acceptance rate, so how many of the papers it receives it actually publishes, and other sorts of indicators like the impact factor. When we're looking at any of these sorts of indicators, you really want to be sure that you're aware of what they can tell you and what they cannot tell you. So for instance, a high impact factor means a journal tends to be highly cited, but not every journal is going to have that metric. And that doesn't mean it's a bad journal. It just means it's not in the scope of the Web of Science product. Journals which target practitioners and policymakers may inherently have fewer citations because racking up scholarly citations is not necessarily the purpose of that publication. So metrics like impact factor that prioritize citation may disadvantage certain types of outlets. So it is certainly fine to look at these indicators, to take them into account. We just want to be sure we don't place such a high priority on them that, that we put them above really crucial things like the target audience and the content scope. So this gives us a sense of some of the traits we want to be looking for to choose a good journal. The next obvious question is, how do we discover those traits? How do we find a journal that we think is going to fit what we're looking for? And what I'm going to do now is go through some very brief live demonstrations of a couple of these tools. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because we are going to do some hands-on searching yourself as well. But I'm going to stop sharing my slides for a moment and reshare my browser. There we go. All right. So the first tool that I want to show you is Cabels or Cabels. I can never actually remember which is the appropriate way to pronounce it. I like to say Cabels. So this is Cabels Scholarly Analytics. And this is a tool that is indexing journals and a wide array of details about those journals to help scholarly authors make selections. You'll see at the top that there's a very basic search box. You can search for keywords that might appear in the title or in the description of it. And right next to the search box, there's also a link for filters. If I click on filters, this is going to show me a lot of other options for ways to specify my search results. And a lot of these are going to be very specific, you know, searching for journals with a certain type of peer review model or with certain types of metrics. But the one I really want you to focus on is the disciplines filter. So even if you don't have a specific keyword, you can just browse through a subject area to get a sense of the journals there. Now, if I scroll through this list, you'll see something like, let's look at educational curriculum and methods. I could just click on that really broad discipline and see everything that's in there. But you'll notice there's also a more narrow list that pops out of subtopics within that discipline. So I can scroll through here and maybe say, I'm specifically interested in educational psychology or elementary and early childhood. So I'll go ahead and click on elementary, early childhood. And you'll see now it's just showing me 236 journals within that. That's still a lot to go through, but you get the idea of how you can browse into a subject area. You can combine those filters with a keyword search. So I can put in some term related to something more specific, maybe assessment. And that's going to get me down to 30 journals that relate to elementary, early childhood and contain the word assessment. All right, we've got a question coming in the chat about how do we get access to this. So I will give you a link. Actually, this is a very good moment to do that. It is accessible through our library's website, where you'll log in through your Sam Houston account. I'm also going to put the link here in the chat. So I've given you 3 links in the chat to the 3 tools that we're going to be looking at. And you can log into those using your Sam Houston username and password. Same thing you use for My Sam Blackboard, all of that. So excellent question. Thank you for asking me that. All right. Oh, except it looks like my chat window sent that as a direct message to the asker. Let me try that again. Okay. Now it should have sent those links to everybody. Sorry about that. All right, so getting back to my browser window. All right, here we are. So I've got a list of some journals I can look at, and I'm just going to pick one of these and click on the title. When we click on the title, that's going to expand the details it shows me about that journal. You can see when a journal launched, so you have a sense of how well established it is or how new it is. There's a little snippet of text right here. And if we click read more, this is going to show you information about that journal's mission and scope. This is one of the critical pieces that you really want to look at. That's going to give you a sense of who are they, what are they looking for, what are they trying to accomplish, and get a sense of how that fits with your research. So we would want to look here at this Australian educational researcher. They want to promote understanding of educational issues by publishing original research and scholarly essays. They want to inform education policy. So for instance, earlier when we talked about what your goals are, if one of your goals is to try to inform and change policy, you might really latch onto this bit of their mission and scope and say, hey, that fits with what I'm trying to do. That might be one characteristic in this journal's favor. They will specify in here that they're interested in both quantitative and qualitative research. So depending on what you're working on, you want to see whether the journal encompasses various methodologies or whether it focuses only on quant or qual. If we scroll down just a little, this is going to give us a bunch of details about things like the acceptance rate. So this journal averages a 35% acceptance rate. That's not too bad. It's not super high. They don't just automatically accept everything that's sent to them, but it's also not super, super low. So it's not going to be really, really, really challenging to get accepted. That's kind of a nice middle of the road acceptance rate. Depending on where you are at a given point in your career and what your goal is, may depend on how high of an acceptance rate you want to target. They use a single blind peer review, and they average about 1 to 2 months to turn around that peer review and give you a decision. That's pretty quick. They do 7,000 words maximum. Most of the time, this will tell you what style guide they use. This particular journal, it's telling me to go to their website and see the manuscript guidelines. But usually you'll be able to get a really quick glance of this one does APA, this one does Chicago. Depending on what style you feel comfortable working in, that may help shape your decision. Now, if I scroll back up, you'll see we're actually on one of 3 tabs here for this journal. We can see About, Metrics, and Contact. The Metrics tab is going to give us some other indicators about this journal. Things sort of like the impact factor, but these metrics are specific to Cabell's. So the Cabell's classification index is also based on citations, like the impact factor. The higher the number here, the higher the influence that that journal is considered to have within its field. And the same with the difficulty of acceptance. The higher the number, the more difficult it's considered within the context of that field specifically. So this is going to give you a variety of metrics to look at. Pardon me. And then the Contact tab is going to give you information for that journal's editor if you need to reach out. You'll notice every journal also has a link in the bottom corner of this pane to visit the journal website. So of course, if you find one that seems promising, you would want to click through to their website and get the additional details about submission, the guidelines for preparing and submitting a paper. All right, so that's kind of a very quick and dirty look at Cabell's using the keyword search box and the disciplines filter. The next one I want to show you really briefly is Ulyrics. I put a link to this one in the chat as well. Ulyrics is a different sort of directory of journals. I'm going to just go ahead and search for a specific title here so I can get one record to show you, but you can obviously search for keywords as well. So if we find a particular journal in here and click on it, this is going to show me who publishes it. Just like with Cabell's, it will show me how long it's been published, so I have a sense of whether it's new or well-established. It's going to tell me how frequently it's published. That can often impact how many papers they can accept in a year, just depending on how many issues they have to be able to put content into. They'll tell you a little bit about the type of content, the audience, and this journal does not have a review, but journals with a star have a review associated with them. So I'll show you this one. There'll be a review here that will tell you a little bit more in the way of the mission, the scope, and the strengths of that particular journal. So Ulyrics does not have as much qualitative sort of detail to let you compare the journals. But if you're having trouble finding things in Cabell's, if Cabell's doesn't seem to cover your subject area very well, Ulyrics may be a different place to look just to discover some journals and then maybe go out to their website and examine them in more detail. And then the third tool I'm going to show you here very briefly is the Mla Directory of Periodicals. This is from the Modern Language Association, and MLA really focuses on the arts and humanities. So a lot of times people who publish in, say, the hard sciences, business, education, you may have certain advantages in the kinds of information that are available to you in these tools. Those journals just tend to be covered more by this kind of these kinds of metrics. The humanities can often be disadvantaged there, but MLA is one tool that's really going to be for you in your corner for journals in languages, arts, things like that. So I'll just do a search here for linguistics, just to give you a quick example of what you'll find. Oh, and apparently I opened this too far before my session and it timed out. So let me try this again. Linguistics. Here we go. Okay. So papers in linguistics, International Journal of Human Communication. Maybe that title jumps out at me. I can click on that journal. And again, it's going to give me the scope. What is it that this journal looks for? What does it include? What does it not include? It's going to give me some subject headings that describe the most common content here. Tell me the year it began, the frequency it's published, the circulation. We cannot get this detail for every journal, but when it's there, it's always sort of interesting. So this is telling you that they average about 1,600 subscriptions. Gives you a sense of the size of the audience they're reaching within this field. They will usually have acceptance information. Here we go. Articles. They kind of make you do the math. So they'll tell you that they have about 45 papers submitted per year, and of those they publish about 24. So that's not quite a 50% or little, roughly 50%. I'm not going to do the math in my head, but that'll give you at least a rough sense of the acceptance rate for a journal. And then again, they'll give you things like the time between submission and publication decision. So you'll know that this journal would average about 6 months to tell you whether or not your paper is going to be accepted. So this is an excellent alternative tool to use if you're trying to discover possible venues in the arts and humanities. All right, now I am going to resume sharing my slides. Oops, not that one. Okay, I'm hoping you're seeing my slideshow presentation again. All right. So what I'd like to do next is move into kind of the hands-on piece of this. I'm going to break you out into breakout rooms, about 2 to 3 people. I want you to spend the first 10 or 12 minutes just searching individually. Dig into Cabell's, Ulyrics, or MLA with those links in the chat window. Use the keyword searches, use the filters. See if you can find some journals that might address your current or future research interests. So we'll spend about 10 to 12 minutes doing that. And then we're going to spend the last 3 to 5 minutes just debriefing with the other people in your room. What kind of journals stood out to you that you might have selected. Why? What traits did you focus on? Or if you really had trouble finding something, kind of talk through why. Help strategize with the partners in your room if you're having issues finding things. And then we're going to come back together as a group and discuss what you found. So let's see. All right, so you should be getting invites to your breakout rooms now. And I'll see you back in about 15 minutes. All right, it looks like we are all back together. So doing a very quick sort of group reflection. Would anyone like to share with the group about a journal they found or something that you found challenging in searching? Feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to share.
I kind of noticed that I just found journals that seemed too broad and too general. So I don't know like how much of a chance my article would have. Like it just kept coming up like Sage publications, which is huge.
Sure, sure. So lots of just very broad disciplinary journals that
right.
Don't seem like they would be focused enough.
Right.
Okay. That's definitely a challenge.
I noticed that the disciplines choices, once I clicked on it, I had to unclick things, unselect them instead of selecting them. And there were so many, and it reset after every click. So it took a little while to just sort out the things I didn't want to see instead of allowing me to select the things I did.
Sure, sure. Sometimes the search features aren't quite as user-friendly as we'd like. Okay. So I kind of want to get a sense from you following that exercise of, we're just following really everything that we've talked about so far in this session. Has your answer changed at all to our original question about what factor might make you pick one journal over another? It's okay if your answer has not changed. It might be exactly the same, but I'm just curious to see. So you should see a poll on your screen now. All right, I'm just going to give about 5 more seconds and then I'll go ahead and close that poll. All right. So really sort of a lot of the same answers, which is totally fine. As I said earlier, it's really going to depend a lot on you and what you're looking for in your publishing. So now that we've looked at some of these tools for identifying journals, I want to share one little side note here about journal matching tools. So there are a number of tools out there that will take a title and an abstract from your paper and try to sort of keyword match them against the titles and mission statements of different journals that are out there and try to give you journals that they think would be good content fits. I've listed about 4 here. I'm sure there are probably others. These are just 4 of the big ones I'm aware of. And so I at least wanted to talk a little bit about some of the pros and cons of using this kind of an approach. It seems really super convenient. I just want to give you my abstract and have artificial intelligence tell me where to send it. And it may not give you bad answers. I'm not going to say that it gives terrible answers or anything like that. But I think it's just good to recognize the limitations in anything you choose, which is why for each of the tools here, I've indicated for you what it's matching against. So for instance, when you use the Open Journal Matcher tool, it's going to be matching your abstract against open access journals that are indexed in the directory of open access journals. That's all it's going to look at. So you maybe will find some good open access options, but you won't see the commercial options. If you use something like the Elsevier Journal Finder, it's only going to match it against journals from one commercial publisher and not anybody else in its competition. So any one of these that you look at, you're really just sort of seeing one narrow slice of the possible pie of journals that are out there. The more different tools that you try, you might come up with a short list and say, okay, well, based on using all 4 of these tools, I have a list of 4 to 8 journals. And then I may go look at those myself and weigh the different characteristics and see which one seems like a good fit. So I like to mention that these exist and that it can be worth experimenting with them, but just be aware of the limitations that they have. It is only artificial intelligence. It can't take into account your goals and your context for any given paper. So wrapping up with some final thoughts, really what I want to emphasize is that there usually isn't just one right journal. There's usually a lot of journals, or at least several journals, that could be possible fits. So if the first one doesn't work out, find another and try again. It can be very hard to get through that rejection feeling. It can be very demoralizing, but the data shows that going through multiple rounds of peer review definitely improves papers. So even if one journal rejects it, take the feedback that they've given you about why they didn't want that paper right now or what they think could be improved. Take that feedback, revise it, and try again. Seek mentorship advice from your professor, your advisor. Talk to a librarian like myself or your subject specialist librarian. Try again. Keep trying. But by the same token, I also want to emphasize the fact that if you eventually reach a point where you decide to set aside one paper that you really have been struggling with, that you can't seem to find the home for it, that's okay too. You don't have to chase one thing into the ground forever. Eventually, we may just say, I'm really tired of feeling rejected from this paper, and I want to go focus on something else. And don't let anybody else tell you that that's the wrong decision for you. It's gotta be your comfort level. So keep trying for as far as you feel willing to keep trying. Whoops. So I've included a slide here with just links to some of the tools that I mentioned in the slides, and then some additional tools like those predatory checklists that I mentioned at the beginning. So you'll be able to access all of these links when I send the slides out after the session. I will also be posting the slides and the recording from this and the 2 future sessions in this series. I'll be posting them all at this web address for you to access as well. So at this stage, I would like to say thank you for participating, and I would like to open up the floor. What questions do you have for me? Trying to leave ample silence in case someone thinks of something. All right, well, if you don't have any questions for me right now, I will just draw your attention to my contact information on the slide, and I will strongly encourage you to please reach out to me anytime by email. It is part of my job to assist everyone on this campus with the scholarly publishing process. So anytime you have questions or you would just like some advice about whether it's identifying a journal or other aspects of the process, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, and I'm here to help. Thank you so much for participating today.
Hi, my partner and I actually had a question.
Yeah, definitely.
So is there a way to search for special issues? Like we were thinking, okay, our topic is really specific. Like I'm doing smartphone apps to learn English. So like my partner pointed out, oh, I bet with COVID, they might be doing a special issue on technology for language learning. So is there a way to search like a special issue on COVID learning, or,
That is a really great question. The kinds of tools we're looking at are going to be somewhat more static information than that. So they're not going to keep up with that kind of an update for special issues. But there are websites out there that keep track of like calls for papers, CFPs, that you might be able to search. And I mean, in all honesty, just Google searching at that level, if you're not sure of the specific, a specific journal you want to look at, just Google searching for those special issues might be as good as anything.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.